Day 4 of the strike and the mass bunk of the resident doctors in not just in the city of Mumbai but also across Maharashtra itself. At Sion Hospital, another lady doctor was assaulted by the patients, which has been also recorded on camera in a statement that was issued by the MARD doctors.
She was hit by the female relatives, then she was verbally abused, and the words which are used just shows the mentality of people.
3 doctors have been attacked in the last 12 hours. 3 doctors have been attacked. So you can understand that how, or rather what is the truth in these promises of the government.
देखो इंसिडेंट्स तो ऐसे मैं नहीं कहूँगा कि होते ही नहीं, इंसिडेंट्स तो कई बार होते भी है. अभी हम लोग देख रहे हैं कि आज ही नहीं हो रहे, तो कई सालों से चलते आ रहा है, होते हैं. हमने तो उनकी 10 मांगी थी, हमने पूरी मतलब वो मान ली है. माननीय मुख्यमंत्री महोदय उनके सामने मीटिंग हुई, उन्होंने भी मान ली है, और हमने लिखित स्वरूप में उनसे कह दिया कि हमें 1 महीने की मोहलत दो.
आदमी लोग को भी देखो ना, जो आदमी बीमार है उनको भी देखे डॉक्टर लोग का. अभी उनका जो हड़ताल है कब तक मांगे पूरे होगा, कितना आदमी मरेगा, क्या होगा, उनको तकलीफ देखेगा कौन.
मेरा बच्चा जिंदा है, राजाबाड़ी वाले लोग बोल रहे हैं बच्चा जिंदा नहीं है, मेरे बच्चे की धड़कन चल रही है.
मंगलवार में आया नली डालने को तो बोलता है बंद है, जाओ बोल तो घर पे जाओ. अभी क्या किधर जाएंगे, कौन सा हॉस्पिटल में नहीं जाने का.
इनको करना चाहिए, उनको देखना चाहिए बच्चों को. जो भी आपका प्रॉब्लम है आप समझो बाद में, पर आपको तो ये तो काम करना चाहिए. आपको
जो जिंदगी तो यहाँ पे लेके आते हैं तो इन सबकी जिंदगी खतरे में नहीं डालना चाहिए इन लोगों ने. अभी जो आपको वरदान ऊपर वाले ने दिया है डॉक्टर बनने का, तो ऐसा इस्तेमाल मत कीजिए.
Well, there seems to be an impasse right now between the doctors and the government. But in the meantime, what do we do about the people who've lined up outside hospitals with sick children, sick family members, people who are in desperate need of care, who are being turned away right now? Who's going to answer to them? Who's going to answer to that mother who was crying about her child? Who's going to answer to that man who needs his stitches changed and his dressing looked into? Why is it we can't put aside our differences and do what is necessary for the poorest who are in need of help in our state? Why has this gone on for so many days? Whose fault is it? Is it the doctors who are still on strike, who are refusing to accept the Chief Minister's own assurance repeatedly today that they will get their demands? Is it the state government that's waking up this late that could have done more? Or is it the BMC that has allowed these hospitals to crumble? Who answers those questions of the people who need help? That's the question we are asking this evening. And our reporters went out and met people outside of these hospitals, and what they found was extremely, extremely distressing. On the show with me this evening, Aarti Sathe, spokesperson of the BJP, Kishori Pednekar, representing the Shiv Sena that runs the BMC, Charan Singh Sapra, spokesperson of the Congress party. Representing the medical fraternity, Dr. Arun Gadre is the head health activist, and he's a member of the Alliance of Doctors for Ethical Healthcare. Dr. Sagar Mundada is of the youth wing head of the IMA, part of the group of doctors who are on strike right now. Dr. Sanjeev Bagai is the vice chairman and director of the Dwarka Manipal Hospital, joining us from Delhi. Swapnil Kothari is a senior lawyer, and Shailesh Gandhi is a former chief information officer and currently an RTI activist, a very senior RTI activist who joins us on the show. I welcome all of you right now to this conversation. I want to start with first bringing in Aarti Sathe and Dr. Sagar right now, because you are fundamentally the opposing parties of what's going on. Aarti Sathe, why hasn't the government or the state government done more to meet these demands? And just for our viewers' benefit, these are what the demands are. Put security at these hospitals, allow only 2 family members in at a time, make sure there is a card system. Now, these are systems that are already fully functional in all private hospitals. Is it too much to ask to have those systems become functional now in public service hospitals as well? Why is it so difficult? Why is it taking so long?
No, I don't think so that the state government has not acted upon all these things. In fact, we have consistently been, voicing our concern over certain affairs as far as doctors are concerned. And after the last few days, the incidences which have taken place, we've already deployed 500 security personnel from the Maharashtra State Security Corporation. the medical education minister said that by April 1st or April end, 1,130 guards will also be recruited to various government hospitals. At the same time, the other demands of the doctors which are there, the Chief Minister was in fact going to meet them today. The Chief Minister has also made very categorical statements to say that the state government is at all times committed and will remain committed to the cause of doctors, to any sort of atrocities or violence which is being committed against them. We have enacted certain laws whereby it has become now a non-bailable offence if there is any violence perpetrated against these doctors. People who are perpetrating this violence will also be brought to books. So I think the state government has moved very fast. Our only appeal is that finally, who are the real victims when these doctors go on strike? It is really the needy patients, it's the common man, and medical services in that sense are so sensitive. It's a life and death situation. So we will obviously be talking to the doctors. The doctors can at the same time be more sensitive to the fact that ultimately the victims are, the needy people. So in view thereof, we are beseeching them to call off the strike and to get back to duty.
Why aren't you being more sensitive?
I'm told that some doctors have already gone back to duty.
All right.
So I think the state government is
why aren't you calling off your strike?
Possible.
If the Chief Minister has made a statement today in the Assembly, also held a meeting himself with the doctors who are striking, why aren't you meeting them halfway and coming back to work?
Yeah, it is because of the previous experience that we have had with the previous governments. Today the Chief Minister has given an verbal assurance. I'll tell you, the state government last year had given an affidavit to the Honorable High Court that they will deploy 800 security personnel, this was last June, within 2 to 3 months. Out of those 800, not even 8 have come. And if you see in this mass bunk period over the last 5 days, the security at the hospitals, ground zero, has hardly increased, not by more than 10%. To just validate my point, yesterday evening 9 o'clock, and if we just think of now, over the last 24 hours, there have been 5 more attacks. In one day, if there are 5 more attacks, out of which 3 have been on female doctors, you tell me, is it a safe environment where we'll go and we'll start working? It's simply not possible that if a critical patient comes to you and the first thing that is coming to your mind is, okay, if something happens to this patient, I might get beaten up, my eye might go, because that is what happened in Dhule.
Tell us what happened in Dhule.
In Dhule, what happened was, it's a medical college which caters to 5 districts. Sadly, the government apathy, successive government apathies has been such that it did not have a facility for a neurosurgeon at a medical college. The patient had to be referred to a higher center. That is what the doctor did. The patient's relatives got out of hand. They started beating the doctor. Almost a mob of 20 people beat the doctor up. That doctor is now in the ICU. He has permanently lost his eye, and perhaps he will require many more operations to come out of that ICU. So if there are life-threatening conditions to the resident doctors who are trainee doctors, who are basically students, how can the government expect that in the last 24 hours there have been 5 attacks, we'll feel safe and we'll go and work?
So on your screen right now, the footage that's running on your screen right now, this is the attack that you're referring to,
right,
where family members of one patient ganged up on a doctor and brutally, mercilessly beat him, and this is the reason why doctors are currently on strike. Aarti Sathe, what is your response to the fact that these doctors, these young student doctors, don't want to take the government's word anymore because they believe that the word is just not good enough? Show us action is what they say.
Well, I think if the word of assurance, and if already 500 security personnel have been deployed as the Chief Minister has said, I don't think it's merely lip service.
If we see,
it's rather unfortunate that these incidences are happening, and
can be seen on
we are
because
completely, we are, one minute, Well, my report is that 500 personnel have already been deployed. My report also says that by end April, further people are going to be deployed. There is an ordinance in place in 2009 itself which says that if any sort of atrocity or violence is perpetrated against doctors, then adequate measures, adequate laws are in force. We
Ma'am,
have
I would
in
just
fact
like to intervene
increased
here.
the punishment
This very
and
act was passed in
also
2000
made it a
as-
non-bailable offence.
Yeah.
Let me also tell you,
As
one
ma'am
minute,
has
one
correctly-
minute,
as
one
ma'am has
minute, one
correctly
minute,
said.
one minute.
So you're saying that
One
the
minute.
act
Let me
already
also
exists
tell
and
you
it
at
has
the
made no
same
difference
time
on the
I'll
ground.
just give you a stat.
that
I'll just give you a
I'm
stat.
And
According
many
to this
times
act,
lawyers have gone on strike and this has not gone down well. One minute, one minute, one minute. Lawyers have several times in lower courts gone on strike and this has not gone down well right up to the apex court. So the apex court has made a suggestion to the Bar Council of India. On that suggestion, the Bar Council of India has submitted its report to the Law Commission to say, and of course it's
Aarti
all in
Sathe, this is
draft
completely
form,
unrelated
to say that
information. I don't
lawyers,
have enough
whatever
time. See,
they're done,
no, my
I'm
point is
trying to
simply
tell
this.
you
Will
that
the
whatever their
hospitals be
grievances may
functioning on Friday morning?
Strike is not a
What ma'am is saying, I just like
Yes,
to
very
just like to
quickly,
make
Sagar.
a quick
So let me
point.
bring in the rest
Yeah,
of
a
the
quick
viewers.
point.
Absolutely.
This act has come in
Absolutely.
place
But
in
for the
2010.
hospitals to become functional,
Please let me speak.
Let me complete. 1 minute. Let me complete.
No, one second,
The
Aarti
point
Sathe,
I'm
one second. I
trying
just want to
make
hear what he
is
says
that
because
all
if the law is
professions,
already
and
in place in
especially noble
2010,
professions,
There have been
there's
53
still been attacks.
53 attacks in the
They have
last
other
3
ways
years.
of protecting.
There has not been a single conviction. There has not
Yes.
been a single conviction. I don't think there has been a charge sheet filed in one of the cases. So the law is literally redundant. It's toothless. Not a single punishment.
In the
out of
Dhule
55,
incident,
And that
what is
cannot
happening
be
in the law?
that cannot be offered to you right now as solace for what's happening. Okay.
Fast-track courts will be set up. These are assurances which the Chief Minister has given.
All right, let's bring in all of the voices at this point. I want to bring in Kishori Pednekar, who represents the Shiv Sena, and I want to bring our viewers in as to what happened today in the BMC, which is run jointly by the Shiv Sena and the BJP. The BJP walked out of a meeting with the other members of the opposition because they blamed the Shiv Sena for not having a plan to fix the health problem. Remember, BMC hospitals are run by the Shiv Sena. Kishori Pednekar जी, आप बताइए, BMC अस्पतालों की जो हाल है अभी काफी बुरी हाल है, ये क्यों है और बीएमसी इसके बारे में क्या करने वाली?
एक तो ऐसा बोलना गलत है, जो क्लीनिनेस है उसमें थोड़ा है, मैं नहीं बोलेगी, लेकिन उसका एक बाजू हम देखते हैं तो दूसरी भी देखनी चाहिए. जिधर ओपीडी में 100 या 200 पेशेंट का चेकअप है, उधर 500 के ऊपर 700 के ऊपर काम होता है. दूसरा एक तो अभी का जो इंसिडेंस हुआ है वो तो बार बार होते हैं करके हमने सिक्योरिटी बढ़ा दी है. उधर प्राइवेट सिक्योरिटी भी है, हमारी बीएमसी की भी है, तो थोड़ा इंसिडेंस कम हो रहा है, लेकिन हालत बेकार है, ये बोलना गलत है. ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन जो करते हैं अपना एमडी या एमएस, वही डॉक्टर बहुत अच्छे काम कर रहे हैं, लेकिन पूरा हॉस्पिटल का जितना क्वांटिटी है उससे ज़्यादा पेशेंट आते, डॉक्टर के भी पेशेंट्स बोलते हो ख़त्म हो जाते हैं. मुझे तो ऐसा लगता है इसमें सबका विजन होना चाहिए, सेंस होना चाहिए, जो अभी सेंस होता नहीं है करके ये सब हो गया है. प्राइवेट हॉस्पिटल में जाते हैं पैसा देके, तो उधर कैसा रहते हैं वो लोग. गवर्नमेंट या महानगर पालिका का हॉस्पिटल है तो एक जो थिंग उनकी सोच है वो बदलना चाहिए.
आपने बोला कि जितने बेड्स है आपके बीएमसी के अस्पतालों में, उससे बहुत ज़्यादा पेशेंट्स आ रहे हैं. तो बीएमसी ने पिछले 5 साल में कितने बेड्स ऐड किए अपने अस्पतालों में? बीएमसी अस्पतालों में कितने बेड्स ऐड किए हुए, कितना हमने अपना फैसिलिटीज़ बढ़ाया है, कितना हमने अपना इन्वेस्टमेंट बढ़ाया है इसमें?
एक तो हॉस्पिटल बढ़ाए हैं, सबरमन में तो हॉस्पिटल बन गए, और हर हॉस्पिटल में जितने पेशेंट आते हैं उससे भी ज़्यादा बेड किए हैं. लेकिन आज के दिन चलो एक वार्ड देखेंगे, वार्ड में 300 बेड है तो 300 ही पेशेंट आना चाहिए, उसमें 500 पेशेंट आते, तो नीचे रखना पड़ता है या बेड के ऊपर रखना पड़ता है.
शैलेश गांधी,
उसमें तो ज़्यादा ही भीड़ है.
Shailesh Gandhi, do you agree that there have been additional beds that have been added, facilities have been added, but we just can't outrun the demand?
On this, I am not sure, so I would not comment. But I find it laughable. Who is to blame, you asked? I think it's very evident that the government is to blame. In the last 2.5 or 3 years, there have been at least 2 to 3 orders given by the courts to say that there should be so much security, not more than 2 visitors will be allowed per patient. A simple thing like that has not been implemented. Even 2 visitors per patient has not been implemented. It shows there is no sincerity,
and it's not impossible
no
because
seriousness.
all private hospitals are doing it.
So what's so difficult about it?
What's difficult about it? Absolutely.
It's something, but there is no intention, and therefore I don't blame the young people who are feeling threatened and terrorized, saying that we will not work unless we are given at least basic security. Nobody can be expected to
Mr. Gandhi,
work.
when you say that the government is at fault, is it the state government or the BMC?
Let them sort it out. They are partners in crime. They are partners in crime. So I think let them sort it out. But certainly the state government also, because it's happening in hospitals across the state. And in the last 3 years, there have been about 55 attacks. In the last 7 days, there have been 11 attacks. What is going wrong? Is this the way to say that, no, is it okay to say doctors must show great bravery? Doctors opted to become doctors, not to become soldiers. And I think it's unfair to expect that everyone should become a hero and a martyr. That's just not acceptable.
Just not acceptable. Charan Singh Sapra, and I keep coming back to the same thing. On one hand, we have the courts that have asked our government to put in security guards a year ago. And on the other hand, people are dying. Where is the comparison? How can we not have gotten on top of this by now?
The issue is that the government is not at all serious. The law which was enacted in 2010 during the Congress NCP regime, they are not able to follow that law. There are all sort of laws are there, but the issue is who's going to implement it. Like the doctor on the panel now said, in last 1 year 55 cases, 800 security guards were promised in last June. Nothing has happened. So this is a serious situation, and probably what happened in BMC today, I feel the blame game is on. Like the BJP wants to put the blame on Shiv Sena, and the Shiv Sena is trying to put the blame on BJP. But the people are suffering. Where are the people going to go? You have just shown on your television that how people are suffering over there. So the government collectively is responsible for all this, for the chaos which has happened. It is both BJP and Shiv Sena, and the doctors are today demanding from the Bharatiya Janata Party Chief Minister, because they have also understood that BJP is Bharatiya Jumla Party.
No, hang on.
They no more want the Jumlas.
No more promises.
They want the doctors.
The Chief Minister has personally spoken twice today and given an assurance.
No, the Chief Minister can give assurances repeatedly, but there's no action. That's what they are demanding. They are saying no more Jumlas. It should be action. That's what the doctors are demanding. Well, let me bring in
Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, who joins us from Delhi. Dr. Bagai, I want and I understand that all doctors have to spend some portion of their residency in government hospitals, and we keep hearing members of the government tell us that, we keep putting up facilities and they're overrun with patients, but that doesn't seem like excuse enough for the state of the healthcare systems in our country. Whose fault is it at this point? Who do you stand with, Dr. Bagai?
Okay, I stand with the medical profession. I will keep my statement completely apolitical. I'll only base it on facts. There were some members of this debate, as the learned speakers who already mentioned, that more number of patients reach hospital than the hospital can actually accommodate or treat. So the healthcare facilities are pretty much stretched pan-India. There is a shortage of doctors, there is a shortage of beds, and that's a no-brainer. But having said that, we must realize that the doctors also are being stretched beyond the limit actually to reach out and treat not 300 in an OPD, but 500 patients in an OPD or 200 patients in the OPD. They work relentlessly, long hours. I would have no hesitation in saying that there is no profession which is more mentally, physically, psychologically, and academically more stressful and challenging than the medical field. And we are very happy doing it. But all what, as medical professional, I would like to say is that the young doctors who see critical patients or indeed terminally ill patients should not be working under fear. Their true judgment should be allowed to flow to give the best possible treatment. A doctor will not be able to give a proper judicious medical treatment if he is working under the fear that he may be beaten up, or in fact he may lose a limb or lose an eye. The second point which I would like to make is restricting the number of visitors irrespective of a government or a private hospital, is complete common sense. More number of visitors which come in increase the risk of hospital-acquired infection. We lose millions of rupees every year in treating hospital-acquired infections. We lose thousands of lives every year in hospital-acquired infections. So this is something which, apart from the security issue, we should enforce. Just on medical grounds, I would say we should enforce. What is the way forward? I would very clearly say that the doctors distinctly need a psychological and physical protection, in which it's not only an assurance, but they need to be protected. Young female residents who are doing late night calls, if they get beaten up, I think it's a sad satire on our complete society. The fallout of this will be two. One is that the beautiful relationship between a doctor and a patient will get eroded further. I don't want that to happen. I think a patient entrusts their lives to us, and we will do our level best and beyond our best to treat the patient. Although we are not God,
Dr. Bagai,
we will put in our best. But the second is
for just a moment, sir.
Yeah, and
I want to play
I'll just complete it just in 5 seconds.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and just the last line which I would like to say is, I don't want this message going to young students who are doing class 10, class 11, class 12. The most brilliant minds seeing these kind of things will keep away from medicine. I think it's the most beautiful profession. It's the most professionally satisfying profession. It is a profession which has been gifted to us by God. We should treat it with respect, which we do. But we would also like to be treated with respect by the patients. We don't ask for anything else except treat us with respect. If there is an issue, address the issue with the hospital administration.
Right.
In a government hospital,
I want to play out this video for our viewers right now.
We work 24/7. Give us the freedom to show respect.
I want to play out this video for our viewers right now, and I want you to consider something. Imagine if this young doctor was your daughter or your sister or your wife, someone in your family who went to work. Is this what you would expect your family member to go through when they go to work every day? I want you to listen to this, and then it will give you a little bit of a perspective of why these doctors are striking right now.
There was a 4-month-old child in the ward with bronchiolitis. I started giving that child neb, and the mother and the relatives are saying कि तुम लोग गलत treatment देते हो, तुम लोग को पकड़ के मारना चाहिए. This is her language. And when the security tried to control her, she hit me on my hand and said कि अगर हमको control किया तो तुम लोग को भी मारा जाएगा. And we are not mad here to do extra duty. एक्स्ट्रा ड्यूटी करे 5-6 दिन हो गए इधर. मैम, हाउ मेनी रिलेटिव्स वर देयर? कितने रिलेटिव्स थे? 5 रिलेटिव्स. 5 रिलेटिव्स. सिक्योरिटी 5 रिलेटिव्स. सुनाई दे रहा है? 5 रिलेटिव्स. Security was not on place. Security was not on place. Security was not on place, and after calling they came after exactly 15-20 minutes.
15 minutes में लेडी डॉक्टर के साथ क्या-क्या हो सकता है?
5 security आए और none of them could control. None of them could control.
यही हमारी मांग है. ईगल गैंग खड़ा है तो ईगल गैंग वहाँ ना खड़ा रहे. बचा ले ईगल गैंग आके.
What happens in 15-20 minutes when a lady doctor is left alone without security with a family that is upset? That's the point we're making. And it is common sense. It is common sense. Why were there 5 family members allowed in that ward to stand around and bully that one doctor who was trying to do her job? It's simple common sense that has been enacted and has been played out in every private hospital. Why is it that the government hospitals are not able to keep up? Swapnil Kothari, I mean, there have been parallels being drawn right now to lawyers who've gone on strike in the past, to other services that have gone on strike in the past. But I don't know any other service. I mean, I don't come to my job every day and expect to be treated in this manner. I don't blame that young lady or anyone else for not wanting to come back to work. But in the meantime, people are dying.
Yes, and this is a very, very deplorable situation. And I would like to give a very balanced viewpoint on this. I'll make my best attempt at this. To compare lawyers with doctors would be a little bit odious for the simple reason that if lawyers go on strike, people do not die. That's one. Two, as far as this aspect was concerned, from what I understand from my doctor panelist is that on 2-3 occasions before, they've demanded security and they've demanded the 2 relatives per patient expectation, and this is a fairly reasonable one, and I don't think that's been implemented by the state government. The state government has been in a sleep mode as far as this aspect is concerned, and that is the reason why we are facing what we are facing today. And the 5 attacks which have happened today probably have happened because I'm not so sure about the facts in this, but they've happened because the doctors have gone on strike apparently, and people are not finding doctors, and that's the reason wherever they found someone, they've started hitting them. Now, who's to blame for this? Where do I pin it? Where does the buck stop? The buck stops at the state government, because it's the state government that needed to pull out some money from its mammoth budgets for statues, from its scams that it was involved in, the irrigation, the desilting, the road scams, and innumerable other scams that have been forming part of this slew of debates that you've held. And put that into 1100 security guards is a very, very small gesture. When you have such a huge budget. Now, having said that, that is something which the state government should have done, but it has not done. What should have been? What should the medical fraternity have done, since they would have envisaged the fact that they would be beaten up, etc., and they would have to go on strike? Then again, which would have created a problem. So it's not that the medical fraternity has not foreseen this situation. The medical fraternity foresaw this. What they should have done, there are 2 things that they should have. This requires short-term solution and a long-term solution. The short-term solution should be that internally first work out to the best of your ability as to if the doctors are not overstretched per patient, so try to divide the patients internally first.
But they obviously are.
Impossible.
It's impossible. They obviously are stretched.
Correct. That's all right. Fair enough. Now, this is since I'm not a medical expert, so I will grant you that. The other thing that I would want you to do is the long-term aspect, which I would have expected the medical fraternity to do, is approach the courts of law and try to get the those measures implemented.
Dr. Sagar.
So I would like to intervene. I would like to say that there have been 3 court orders in the last 1 year.
Correct.
Those court orders have come because we approached the court again and again.
Absolutely. So keep approaching it.
We can't keep approaching until someone dies. We can't keep approaching until someone dies.
No.
3 court orders and still it's not being followed.
Exactly. The government.
What more can we do?
No, I mean, please stop this thing. People will not keep coming to the court all the time. I think that's not
but Swapnil Kothari, what is obvious here is that the government of Maharashtra has repeatedly disobeyed the court of law.
That's right. So the court should have taken.
Why not initiate contempt proceedings?
And it should have taken, it is my suggestion to the court that initiate suo motu contempt proceedings against this and ensure that these orders that the court has given are complied with. Okay. Because that's the only way out for the doctors.
So let's now crystallize this conversation down to one thing. That the government of Maharashtra has a responsibility here towards its doctors and towards its patients, a responsibility that it has not fulfilled. Aarti Sathe, let me point this out to you. October 2015, when this current government is in power, International Institute of Health Management Research suggested that the state of Maharashtra increase its spending in the health sector by at least 7,400 crore rupees in order to meet the key challenges of this sector and the rising cost of medical care. What the state government did in return was reduce its allocation by 675 crore rupees in the latest budget 2017-18. What is the case here? Does the Maharashtra government not have enough money for healthcare? Does it not prioritize healthcare? Or did it not understand the suggestion that the International Institute of Health Management Research made to the government?
No, I don't think so. There is no priority as far as healthcare is concerned, as far as this state government is concerned. The recent budget also has made several allocations as far as medical aid or medical hospitals are concerned. In fact, Maharashtra has so many medical colleges.
Let me correct you. It did not.
It reduces by 500 crore.
It's reduced. The recent budget has reduced the allocation by 675 crore rupees. You've not added any new beds. You've not added any new beds, Aarti.
But at the same time, no, let me tell you, 33.3 crores only have been deployed for security personnel as far as doctor security safety is concerned.
But the doctors can't see those security people. We don't know where these security people are. That means the money is not being spent correctly.
We have in fact given a big chunk only to the security.
There's something wrong there. There's possibly another scam. Is there any security? Is there any security?
Have gone only for.
Now, let me bring in Dr. Arun Gadre. Dr. Arun Gadre, is there security on the ground? Is the government's assurances actually translating to anything?
The state government is not acting is completely incorrect. There is a grievance cell which has been put in place. Doctors' demands have
that grievance cell has not been functioning for 1 year. Security has not been discussed once.
1 minute.
That grievance cell is headed by a retired High Court Judge, Justice Dhaka, but still they haven't talked about security.
Don't give us lip service here. Don't give us lip service. You're giving us answers that are being refuted by the members on the panel here.
It's not a question of lip service. A grievance cell has been set up. The Honorable Chief Justice, Mrs. Chellur, has already said that the doctors must go back on work, but the grievance cell at the same time has to be put in place.
You can say whatever you wish to, but it's an absolute administrative failure on the part of the BJP government.
Let me, one doctor hasn't spoken yet. Dr. Arun Gadre is a member of the Doctors for Ethical Healthcare. Dr. Arun, is there security on the ground? 33 crore rupees allotted for security. Mr. Sapra, I'll come to you. I just want to bring in this one voice. Dr. Arun, is there security on the ground? This grievance cell that we're talking about, is it actually functioning? Is the government just giving us lip service?
Because your government
nobody is listening to you, Madam
No, please don't get into your government and my government. I don't have time for it. Dr. Arun Gadre, is there security on the ground?
Nobody is even listening to you because you are interrupting. You are in the process of interrupting.
No, let the doctor speak, please. You have failed. Let the doctor speak now.
I've already said that the state government has been proactive. You are interrupting by saying Jumla party.
But let the doctor speak.
You don't have the moral authority to say anything.
Now your Jumlas are no more required over here.
All right. Aarti Sathe, if you believe the state government has been proactive, why did the BJP walk out of a meeting this morning from the BMC, leaving the Shiv Sena to fend for itself?
Because they don't want to take the blame on them.
1 second, Charan Singh Sapra. Aarti Sathe, why did the BJP walk out of a meeting with the Shiv Sena this morning in the BMC, saying that the Shiv Sena has not been able to come up with any solutions? If you're telling us that we have a proactive state government that has come up with solutions, why blame the Shiv Sena?
Look. No, 1 minute. If we wanted to run away from the responsibility, if we did not want to act, if we did not want to make any proactive statements, today our Chief Minister would not stand up in the assembly and make a long-drawn speech to say
That's what the doctors
has
are
been
saying.
done.
It's only
He
lip
wouldn't
service.
meet the doctors if we were not committed to the cause of the doctors. As 1 minute, Mr. Sapra, now you want me to be heard, let me speak. If you
what about the updation of the security
without
system?
being disruptive.
Why not digital security?
As the BMC walkout
Why not the gadget security brought in by the government since 2.5 years?
Okay, let me just share some numbers right now with our viewers. There are 108 beds. 1 second, Aarti Sathe. Let me give the viewers the facts right now. Let me give the viewers the facts. In the state of Maharashtra, irrespective of the statements being made by our Chief Minister, however impassioned they may have been in our state assembly today, there are only 108 beds per 1 lakh people in Maharashtra as per the Economic Survey 2015-16. In Mumbai, there is 1 bed for every 3,000 people in the last available numbers, and we don't even have the latest numbers. Kishori Pednekar, whose responsibility is it? ये किसकी responsibility है? ये BMC की responsibility है कि state government की responsibility?
BMC के अंदर आने वाले हॉस्पिटल में हमारी जिम्मेदारी है और अदर हॉस्पिटल्स जो स्टेट में है वो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट की जिम्मेदारी है। मुंबई में स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के भी हॉस्पिटल है और हमारे महानगर पालिका के भी हॉस्पिटल है। जो महानगर पालिका के अंदर आते हैं वो हमारी जिम्मेदारी है, बाकी जिम्मेदारी तो स्टेट की है। स्टेट ने देखना चाहिए। जैसे अभी जो सवाल खड़ा है उसमें ज़्यादा तो ज़्यादा सिक्योरिटी का है। वो जब बोल रहे हैं कि डिजिटल सिक्योरिटी किधर है, ये किधर है, वो किधर है, तो वो देना चाहिए गवर्नमेंट ने। लेकिन उनका कहना है कि उन्होंने 33 करोड़ रुपीस एलोकेशन दिया है सिक्योरिटी के लिए। वो 33 करोड़ रुपीस कहाँ गए? कितना करोड़ दिए उसका मतलब नहीं है। करोड़ देने से भी ये होता है तो ये नहीं होना चाहिए। इसके जिम्मेदारी है, वो हाई करके ही बोलना चाहिए। जो नहीं बोलते तो ये आदत है, करके भी नहीं बोलना, क्यों करना ही नहीं है।
तो आपका कहना है कि बीजेपी की आदत है बिना कोई काम करके बस बातें करना। बातें करते हैं, लेकिन अभी रिजल्ट भी उनके तरफ से आते हैं। वो कैसा आता है, क्या होता है, लोग भी पजल में। बीजेपी आपकी तो अलायंस पार्टनर है मैम। हो तो क्या हुआ? जो गलत है वो गलत है। अभी महानगर पालिका में आज वॉकआउट हुआ, क्या कारण था उसका?
लेकिन अभी कुछ ना कुछ करते ही रहना है तो करने दो.
Let me just bring in 1 second. Let me just bring in Dr. Arun Gadre, who hasn't spoken yet. Dr. Gadre, I'm sorry I've taken this long to come to you. I just want to understand from your point of view, and you deal with ethical healthcare. There are people who are dying right now, and we're losing time to politics. Is there really security on the ground? Has there been that 33 crore rupees deployed for security? Has it reached the right place and the right people? And is the grievance cell that the representative of the government is talking about, does that grievance cell actually work? Does it exist? Well, I'm not sure if Dr. Gadre can hear us. Dr. Sagar?
See, what I would like to say here is the government has allocated 33 crores, they say. We don't require 33 crores. What we are asking for is to restrict the number of relatives. I don't think that requires crores of money. If you just restrict the relatives, leave aside everything else, leave aside the security of the doctors. What we call as hospital acquired infections, those will go down by such a notch. More of healthcare budget can be saved, more lives can be saved. We are creating unnecessary complications for the patient itself. So if we just restrict the number of relatives, it is a threefold...
So tell me something. Now, we don't even know what's happening right now in interior Maharashtra and the healthcare, the public healthcare over there. But you work in KEM hospital in Mumbai.
Right.
What is the security offered there? Are people allowed to just walk in and out as they please and access any part of the hospital?
Sadly, it is so. Anybody can just walk in, anybody can just go out. If we just see there are 4 gates to KEM hospital, you consider any hospital, there are 4 main gates. If you can just deploy 5 security personnel at each of those gates, it just requires 20 guards for 1 hospital. If not more than 2 relatives are allowed, there will be less chaos in the hospital. The patients will get less hospital-acquired infections. The doctor will be secure. The quality of care that we are giving will improve. One simple step and you're targeting so many areas. I don't know why this has not happened despite court orders.
So, Dr. Sanjeev Bagai?
I already did mention this point. I think what I would request as a medical professional, after having spent almost 30 years in this line, the media can play an extremely proactive role. Again, I'm keeping well away from any political discussion. I think the media should run a national-wide campaign. 1, hospital is not a meeting place or a socializing place. You can send your good wishes even from home. Restrict the number of visitors, restrict the number of relatives. It's mandatory. It's mandatory for the sake of the patient. And I think the media can reach out over a billion population instantly. And people realize they're doing more good to their relatives by not going there recurrently. Point number 2 is the media should also speak to the poor injured doctor and hear his side of the story individually. I think the poor person's career is completely finished. How is and who is going to compensate that doctor? I think we need a more social sensitization towards public at large. I'm not saying it's the government's fault. I'm not saying it's the doctor's fault. I'm not putting the blame. Otherwise, we'll keep going round in circles. Let's look what corrective actions we need to take. 1 is we need to keep the hygiene of the hospital clear. That means less number of relatives. We save billions of dollars, billions of rupees in preventing hospital-acquired infections. We save human lives. Point number 2 is sensitize the public. Treat the doctors with respect. We have sacrificed our youth. We have sacrificed our lives to treat patients. All what we are asking, as any medical professional will ask, is don't hit us.
Don't hit us. That's a very, I can't even believe we actually have doctors asking those things here on the show. Dr. Arun Gadre can hear us now. Doctor, my question is very simple. We're talking about KEM hospital, for example. Where is the security? Why isn't there security? What would that cost? And why isn't the government being more proactive?
Hello. The security which we are discussing at large is a very important aspect, because what we are seeing is a horror videos and horror stories. This should not happen. Full stop. No violence should be there. So all the precautions should be taken, but that is a short-term measure. This will not suffice, because the successive governments have done the policy problems, basically as you have rightly mentioned, the Maharashtra state budget is reduced by 4%. 30% of vacancies are in the primary health sector and 60 to 70% vacancies are in the specialist. So the major problem lies in the lack of political will. Over the years, since last 30 years, I will not blame only one party. The overall direction is towards the privatization. I allege that the government by choice is doing passive privatization. You make the government hospitals worse. I was in Grand Medical College in St. George Hospital. We were the most fortunate residents there. We had a good hospital. Even the politicians used to come for their treatment to the St. George Hospital. But now the government is shrugging away from its responsibility. Yes. See, in Pune, there is only one Sasun hospital. In last 60 years, there would have been 10 Sasun hospitals. No, there are 20 private hospitals, but not a single Sasun hospital. So the government's apathy towards the funding and towards the governance and towards the expansion and capability building of public health care system has to be there as a long-term term. And secondly, as a short-term subject, I tell from my personal experience, I was attacked in my hospital. Nobody has pointed it out, but this is a law and order situation also. The low-level karyakartas of the low-level Rajakiya political leaders are making a mahem. They are the people who are after the khandani, after the making the money out of the complications. And that has to be pointed out very severely. Yes. Because unless you tackle it, no amount of security will help doctors.
I want to ask Kishori Pednekar this question. Kishori ji, most of these hospitals in the city are run by the BMC, including KEM hospital, which Dr. Sagar was talking about. उन्होंने कहा कि 4 गेट से KEM hospital पे एक security guard भी नहीं है. लोग अंदर जाते हैं, बाहर जाते हैं, उनकी infections बढ़ जाती है. There is no security in KEM hospital. और BMC के पास 37,000 crore rupees budget है. अभी state government तो वैसे डेट में है. वो अलग सी बात है, वो उसके बारे में हम अलग से बात कर लेंगे. लेकिन आपके पास तो पैसे हैं, बीएमसी के पास पैसे हैं, आप अपने अस्पतालों को क्यों संभाल नहीं रहे?
एक तो सिक्योरिटी नहीं है बोलना गलत है. आज भी आप जाएंगे आईसीयू में जाएंगे या कौन सा भी हॉस्पिटल में 3-3, 4-4 सिक्योरिटी है.
नहीं, लेकिन डॉक्टर का कहना है कि सिक्योरिटी नहीं है.
What I would like to say, with all due respect, what I would like to just say is, over the last 24 hours, out of the 5 attacks, one has been in Sion Hospital, the other has been in JJ Hospital, another has been in Bhabha Hospital. Now, out of these 3, 2 are civic-run hospitals.
2 are BMC hospitals.
So there's the evidence that whatever security, namesake security we're talking of, is very, very, very minimal.
किशोरी जी?
नहीं, सिक्योरिटी नहीं है बोलते तो गलत है. सिक्योरिटी है ही,
लेकिन काफी नहीं है मैम, क्योंकि अभी अटैक्स अभी चल रहे हैं. अभी पिछले 2 दिन में अटैक्स हुए.
एक तो काफी
आप ही के अस्पतालों में अटैक्स हुए.
कितना सिक्योरिटी है, इसे कैसा चल रहे है वो भी जरूरी है. अभी जैसे उन्होंने बोला कि हर डॉक्टर के पास तो सिक्योरिटी नहीं रखेंगे, हर डिपार्टमेंट के पास 3-3, 4-4, 5-5 सिक्योरिटी है, प्राइवेट दूसरी भी सिक्योरिटी है. तो आज के दिन थोड़ा लोकेलिटी का भी प्रॉब्लम होता है. अभी सायन केएम नायर उसमें कम हादसे होते हैं, लेकिन सायन जो रहते हैं मोहल्ले
नहीं. लेकिन अगर आप ये जानते हो तो आपको ज्यादा सिक्योरिटी लगानी चाहिए वहाँ पे.
हाँ,
आप जानते हो कि अटैक्स कहाँ पे होते हैं, कैसे होते हैं, तो आपने सिक्योरिटी क्यों नहीं लगाया? पिछले 3 दिन के जो अटैक्स हुए हैं आप ही के अस्पतालों में, ये प्रिवेंटेबल अटैक्स थे. अगर आप लोगों ने सिक्योरिटी लगाए थे और आपको मालूम है कि कहाँ पे हो रहे, कौन से लोकेलिटीज में होते हैं अटैक्स, तो ये
एक तो पेशेंट के साथ जितने रिलेटिव आते हैं उनको थोड़ा अंदर लेना ही नहीं चाहिए, ये बात मैं मानती हूँ. लेकिन सिक्योरिटी ये भी करते हैं. अभी जो हादसे हो रहे हैं उसका मतलब ऐसा नहीं कि सिक्योरिटी नहीं है, बढ़ाना चाहिए. बड़ी भी है. 2 हमारा महानगर पालिका का भी है और प्राइवेट भी है. ऐसा नहीं कि सिक्योरिटी नहीं है.
शैलेश गांधी, there are little babies that go missing from BMC hospitals. We're talking about security.
I think this is a sham. The security is completely inadequate and nobody's paid any attention to it except to say कि ना security तो हम देते हैं. देने के बाद से नहीं होता है. also the state government is also responsible, because if security is not there in even municipal hospitals, I think the state government needs to wake up and say providing security, maintaining law and order is a state subject, and the state government is certainly responsible for it. But I want to point out one other thing.
And you know, I also want to point out this, and we have to be honest about this, Mr. Gandhi, that the BJP that runs the state government and the Shiv Sena and the BJP that run the BMC are partners. Let's not waste any more time talking about whose fault it is. You are partners. You have to, at this point, be able to set aside whatever political differences you have and come together for those people who are dying out on the street. Remember, people come from interior Maharashtra all the way to Mumbai for treatment to find the doors locked. It's an appalling state of affairs.
The only thing I'd like to point out is it's not just the current government and the current political parties. The earlier political parties are equally responsible and culpable. It's not that one party is any better than others. Also, strategically, what the doctor mentioned, that privatization is the mantra. They do not want to provide public health services, and since many years, it's not about last 2.5 years. Lands are being given away to private trusts to put up hospitals, almost free. But the state doesn't use that land and make its own hospitals. This is a conscious, deliberate effort to privatize and push everybody into the private sector. Government is neglecting its duty. And I think it is worthwhile to understand that contempt of court has been done by the government in the last 1 year itself. And instead of focusing on that, the focus is on doctors who strike. They are not striking out of joy or fun. But if they feel threatened, I do not believe it's fair to say that they should.
In news that's just coming in, this is news that's just coming in. The Maharashtra Association of Resident Doctors says the protest will continue tomorrow because the judge has not signed the order. They say they do not have a copy of the order and they are in no position to decide a further stand or to call off their strike until they get a copy of the order. So Swapnil Kothari, you said approach the courts. Now these doctors don't have a copy of the order, and I rather agree with them. Why would they call off their strike unless someone gives them something in writing?
I entirely agree. Until and unless you have a copy of the order, you do not know what the order says, so you do not know whether to comply with it partially, substantially, etc. That's one. The second aspect which I would like to point out to my fellow doctor panelist here is that when you see a video of this nature where a doctor is being attacked, and we are saying that the Maharashtra Medicare Act of 2010 has not been invoked, so you might as well go ahead and invoke it. It's a very simple thing. Immediately, it's a non-bailable offense. You will get 3 years imprisonment and 50,000 rupees as compensation, whatever is spelled out in the sentence. That's one. The other aspect which I would like to point out is that with due respect to Mr. Gandhi, approaching a court of law would not amount to begging. That's a rather disillusioned view.
No, but
and I would may I finish, please? May I
Yes.
finish, please? May I finish, Mr. Gandhi, please? So what I'm saying is that it's, yes, you've rightly pointed out how many times do I approach, but then that is something which I, as a part of MARD or as a medical professional, I have 3 orders in my hands which have not been complied with so far. I have to bring it to the attention of the court that look, there are these 3 orders, they have not been complied with, so please do something.
With all
now I'm sure you must have done something of it, or I'm sure the MARD must have decided upon it in some form or the other. But this is the only recommendation as a lawyer that I can give you to, take a criminal action. That's one, and 2, to go ahead and press for this until and unless some security is being given to you.
What more can we press? If the order is still not signed today,
I think at the end of the day, all of the voices we've heard today, the blame squarely falls on the state government and the BMC in this case. Aarti Sathe, the state government has disobeyed the courts of law. It has created grievance cells that we understand do not function. It has allocated money that has not found its way on the ground to actual security. The attacks are still happening, which are a law and order problem, which are also a state subject. So while we appreciate that the Chief Minister made a very impassioned speech today, it has made absolutely no difference to these doctors who will not risk their lives against tomorrow. And if they don't go back, and they've just said they're not going back to work, more people will die. And I want you to respond, Aarti Sathe, to that footage we were looking at that broke my heart of this woman who was sitting on the footpath holding a baby who was obviously in need of medical care. She was sitting there not knowing where to go. Answer to her, Aarti Sathe, where does she go? Because the state government has not done its job.
I think the state government is not hard-hearted, and we also do not like to see these heart-wrenching pictures. That is exactly why we are asking the protesting doctors to go back to work. We have taken cognizance of their
doctors
demands.
Have been suspended.
Whatever that the state government needs
have been
to do,
suspended.
the state government is doing. Why am I being interrupted when I have a chance to speak?
And you're suspending doctors. Is that a civilized way of treating doctors?
And we understand also that the doctors at Sion Hospital were evicted from their hostels. Their water supply was cut off. They had to spend the night on the street.
The eviction orders have been given to many doctors all over the state. Now, that is the thing. We are just asking for basic security. Instead of fast-tracking that, we are being given suspension orders. We are being told, okay, you evict the hospital. So the basic question is, we are asking for security. Please give us the security. We are more than happy to go and start working. Because the last 24 hours itself, we have seen that there have been 5 attacks. Female doctors are in such shambles. They do not know what is going to happen next moment. How can we go and work in a profession where we have to be very, very alert?
Right.
Have any of the attackers been prosecuted? Have they been imprisoned?
Sir, try to point out. I'll tell you, it's a non-bailable. It's a non-bailable offence. It's a non-bailable offence. But sadly, almost every time the judge has given a bail to this non-bailable offence. Non-bailable offence, the judge can give the bail. These people get bail within 2 days, 3 days, and then the charge sheets are not filed. Not one case is going on in court out of 55.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time this evening, and the health crisis in Maharashtra is going to continue because the assurances that have been offered by the Chief Minister of Maharashtra are just not enough. The doctors are not backing down. They're going to, from what we understand, continue to be on mass leave tomorrow. We also understand that doctors in AIIMS, for example, who came to work today wearing helmets to prove their protest, the fact that they do not feel safe at work and they stand by their colleagues in Maharashtra. This is something that doctors across the country are standing by the medical fraternity and their colleagues with, until and unless the state government just sits up and does what is necessary. What do you need to do? Call up the police force, bring in extra officers, put in security so that the hospitals can function and people can receive treatment. We should not have to receive these suggestions from lay people in the media. There are people in the law and order system who know how this should function, and we do not have to tell you, although we will if you can't realize it, we do not have to tell you, to the government of Maharashtra, that this is a desperate situation. You cannot have a system where you have 100 beds for 1 lakh people and then not have doctors standing by those 100 beds. This is a desperate situation. Stop making speeches and actually do something about it. Bullying the doctors who are already afraid, threatening them with losing their careers is not working. Do better, do more, do your jobs, because we are watching and we'll keep an eye on it. Thank you.